I'm going to open it up for discussion now. Please feel free to put your questions. The purpose of this session is to make sure that all of your questions have been answered. And if there is anything that we can clarify, all of the relevant stakeholders are here. So please get back to us and let us know if you have any questions. There's one question that I've seen in the there's a question from Valeria, and that question is that will SHIP-MD also support preclinical research? Anyone in the panel wants to talk about this?
Well, this Chester, maybe I can add. I do think that there are existing resources, and I think it was mentioned before that we're not trying to duplicate resources already there. So, for example, the Pediatric Device Consortium programs, the 5 national sites, likely already do help innovators to support it. We do have what we call direct device funding, but also can be called seed funding. And I think that can help with preclinical research. So that resource already exists. And to be seen if SHIP-MD will do it, but I do think this may be a resource that's already available that may not need to be duplicated within SHIP-MD.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Chester. I think our vision and goals are to really take devices that are ready for clinical trials or clinical studies in patients. So certainly there may be some discussion in the lead up to that, but I think ultimately we're hoping that the device is really regulatory ready and able to be studied.
Thank you so much, John. There are a couple of other questions that are also coming up. How can American Academy of Pediatrics help with promoting SHIP-MD? I think this is an extremely important question, and anything that is related to children, American Academy of Pediatrics is always intimately involved with it. So anyone in the panel, John, Vasum, anyone, what are your thoughts about it?
Let Jeff start.
Well, so yeah, I'm happy to try and address this. I mean, so you know, as most people know, the American Academy of Pediatrics is an organization of 67,000 people. When speaking for 67,000 people, one chooses one's words carefully. I mean, the American Academy of Pediatrics is deeply invested in the development of all kinds of therapeutics, devices, drugs, vaccines that will mitigate disease and suffering in kids. And so the American Academy of Pediatrics has a very deep and broad network that can help and advise and participate in the processes related to all aspects of both SHIP-MD and other aspects of the regulatory machine around pediatric drug and device development, and it has. There's a long track record of the AAP being deeply involved in this. I mean, I think if the 67,000 people will allow me to speak for them, what I think the AAP, and certainly me speaking personally, am appreciative for about the SHIP effort is that sometimes the greatest gift for people and the greatest accelerant to progress is the convening of bright people. So over the past year, the participants in the different work streams, the participants on the executive committee and on the coordinating committee, and certainly everyone related, Kanwal Jeet and your team at CPATH, there has been a convening with the opportunity for open dialogue, and it's through the magic of that convening that the workshop has come together. So the American Academy of Pediatrics as a group, I'm sure, is appreciative of this because it's through processes like this that the interests of the children and families we care so deeply about are advanced. It's also an objective of the American Academy of Pediatrics, as Dr. Beers mentioned, that the children who are among the most vulnerable in our population and the children who are experiencing health disparities for whatever reason, Black children, Latinx children, immigrant children, children whose families are in the lower socioeconomic groups, that all of those children have equal opportunity to participate in and benefit from medical advancements in the both in the medication domain and certainly in the device domain. So the discussions that I've been involved in the SHIP context over the last year have all been very sensitive to these children who are particularly vulnerable. And so I think the AAP can help the SHIP process as well in keeping us all sort of focused on not just addressing the needs of children, although children as a group are obviously a vulnerable population, but those kids and families who are particularly vulnerable, so that we can help them to enjoy some of the health successes that other kids may enjoy.
And I should also add to that, Jeff, the fact that we had the president addressing this group, and that you're such an active member on the executive committee, really, and many of us are also fellows and participants in the American Academy of Pediatrics, and also active in the technology section of the AAP. Many of us are active within the advocacy groups of the AAP, and I routinely work with the Committee on Federal Government Affairs at AAP and with the Senior Government Affairs folks. Nothing really happens in Washington with children without support from the AAP. I've used that to my advantage over many years and have learned that. And so certainly as we talk about approaching Medicaid, as we talk about legislative efforts, all of those things will really depend on the participation of organizations like the AAP, the March of Dimes, et cetera. And we've been very effective in passing legislation in the past. I worked with AAP on the FDA Safety and Innovation Act that we passed in 2012 that got neonatologists and epidemiologists hired at the FDA and expanded a number of pediatric programs. So I think there's lots of opportunity. Besim has talked about other legislative efforts that have impacted the AAP, that have impacted device development, not as much as we'd like, and we need to do more, but at least it's a step in the right direction. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for AAP and other organizations to play a role.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
It's just, I can add to that. I mean, AAP is a membership society, and on this panel alone, there are at least 4 of us who are AAP members. It came up in the chat. Sharif Tallman talked about us being a ALF, or Annual Leadership Forum proposal, and I think that's a great idea. And those proposals, I believe, are best when they're submitted by multiple sections. And so I think this is something SHIP-MD does reach out to many sections, section neurology, section SOAT, which I'm also a very big active part. We have cardiology, neonatology. This hits a lot of members. And so I think this is where I think AP can and should fill a big role in terms of advocacy.
Thank you so much, Chester.
And Kanalji, just for a quick addition, a simple addition, but just to maybe add on to what Chester and John and Jeff have already mentioned. As a number of us here on the panel are fellows of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and for all transparency, I am as well. I think we want to recognize that it's not, from the questioner's standpoint, it's not even just a matter of how can the AAP help. But just as Jeff already mentioned, they've been part of this throughout the process. Jeff has been the representative from the AAP, despite the fact that a number of us devote our lives on a regular basis to the care of children and are fellows of the Academy as well. So just want to make sure that that's clear for folks.
Yes, thank you, Vasum. A couple of other questions that are coming into my queue. Is there anything that gets the go, no-go decision for ShipMD besides getting feedback? And when would the community know if things are planning to move forward? Vasum, perhaps you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. I think the plan right now is to make sure that, number one, all of the feedback from participants in the workshop over these last few days is digested, understood. We've had some phenomenal participation, great questions that have really been engaging. I think we have these questions have reflected that we've really been thoughtful in terms of looking at this from all angles. I don't believe there are questions that came up that at some point we have not already from the executive committee and coordinating committee discussed or thought through, which is great because that reflects alignment with the key issues that all of you are thinking about when we think about pediatric device development and creation of a system of this caliber that can really make a difference in the ecosystem. So to be as clear as possible, once the workshop has ended and people have a chance to vote, we want to give them some time, especially for folks that haven't been able to join the workshop over these last 3 days, or have only seen a few of them. All the videos will be available, as Kanwaljit has mentioned many times before, on shipmd.org, ship-md.org website. So please take a look at that. Please get onto the SurveyMonkey link, cast your vote, provide us with your thoughts, provide us with your feedback, any other key areas that we should be thinking about as well. And once we have a chance to, again, take all of that into consideration and then have a thoughtful conversation with the coordinating committee and the executive committee, then we'll be able to clarify whether moving forward at this time is the best path to go.
Thanks, Vasum. And I think that perfectly clarifies what our future plans are going to be. And that actually also answers one of the questions that Karen Feinberg had asked. Will we have a catch-up session in the future to update us on the progress? Most certainly, I think we will. When that is going to happen, it's dependent on how the progress is going on. When ShipMD is formally launched, currently we are looking at 18 to, if we go forward, we are looking at 18 to 20 months timeline to get to, look at the next phase of the ShipMD formalized and completed. So yes, I really do not think that this is the first time we are meeting. We will be meeting again. Absolutely. There's no question about that. But again, that's just my opinion. Again, everyone in the EC, please feel free to chime in.
And perhaps others are collecting their thoughts. Just to be clear, I know we provided some very ambitious timelines, I think, in a couple of the slides, especially during the presentation. And just as Kanwaljit mentioned as well, just to clarify that time period, we have a couple of more deliverables on the current phase 1 that we want to complete. This was the first goal that we wanted to get to with respect to having this workshop, refining all of these presentations to be able to present this complex national ecosystem concept in as clear and simplified a manner as possible, with some, dividing it up into these 5 key work stream areas. So we hope that all of these presentations have been well received, and that the concepts and the critical foundational tenets of the ShipMD framework are clear to everybody. And the other deliverables that we have remaining is within the next 6 months, we want to be able to develop a blueprint and strategic plan that incorporates that go, no-go decision to figure out whether we should be going into phase 2. And if we were to engage phase 2, what are those key action steps that are necessary? In addition to that, this is a little bit more ancillary, but still important as part of one of our three goals, is to have a meetings proceedings document that helps to document all the different topics and issues that have been discussed, and something that hopefully will be published in the academic and scientific literature, so that this information is available to anyone that would like to have access and that wasn't able to perhaps join these conversations. But once those are completed, we'll have to also discuss funding models, just as the finance team and Chris and Patrick elucidated so well. And based off of a number of decision points, we'll have to be clear about whether taking on that phase 2 is the way to go. I believe we've clarified from this workshop that there is a great deal of support for an ecosystem of this nature, and that this framework, the ShipMD framework, really does add value to the ecosystem and is helping to potentially overcome some generational and systemic issues that have prevented optimal medical device development for children.
Yes, thank you, Vasum.
This is Tara. Tara Federici. I just want to echo Vasum's comments and say, yes, we definitely, I'm very grateful for the tremendous interest in this public workshop and all of the wonderful questions and feedback that we've gotten to date. And we definitely need to keep this group apprised of next steps and deliverables. And we'll have to figure out the best way to do that, but certainly we can keep the website updated. So that might be a good place for people to check in routinely. But I appreciate the question and the interest.
Thank you so much, Tara. I echo both your and Vasum's viewpoint, absolutely. Another question has been coming. Do you have students and your involvement in the basically? So the question is that do you have students and your innovators' involvement, especially who are interested in innovation and entrepreneurship? So basically, I understand that this person is asking that are there any opportunities for people who are already in training to work with us in ShipMD?
Yeah. Maybe I can take first crack at that. I would say definitely yes. We're talking about a system of hospitals and really children's hospitals, and they by their very nature tend to be major academic centers. And that of course involves students, both undergraduate and graduate level, as well as trainees, residents, and fellows. So I think, yes, is my personal practice. We have fellows involved with all steps of pediatric device development. We have a paper out, Journal of Pediatric Surgery, about how to get more surgeons involved with capstone programs to build prototypes for pediatric devices. And we just had another paper come out, Journal of Pediatric Surgery, about how to take some of those projects and to get SBIR and STTR funding. So I think, yes, academics does play a major role. It is probably one of the solutions for pediatric devices because the devices tend not to be able to survive in the outside world. So we just have to de-risk and move forward within academics a little bit longer to make it more appetizing for others to get involved with that particular project. So thank you.
Thanks, Esther.
And Chief, just to add a quick point there, especially to anybody such as a student at a specific level of training that might be interested in this type of work, just like Chester just mentioned, the Pediatric Device Consortia, especially the 5 currently funded programs across the country, have great academic opportunities to begin to understand the issues that are going on in the device development and technology innovation space. In addition to that, I also want to highlight that one of the local pediatric device consortia, I should say the one based at Children's National Hospital, has also, in collaboration with us, developed a fellowship program, the first year of which is just coming to a close, and there may be an opportunity for another fellow to be able to both engage in the technology development opportunities at Children's National and also be able to engage with me here at CDRH to begin to learn about some of the programs and policy development aspects that are very critical to being able to move this field forward.
Thank you, Vasu. Thanks again. I have it's a 5-minute mark to the end of this session, but I do have a couple of questions that I have in my link. Some of them are actually unanswered questions from the previous sessions. And I think a couple of them are really important and would be good if we can take this opportunity to answer. Does an innovator have to be hospital-based? What about outpatient-based pediatricians who are interested in developing pediatric medical devices?
Yeah, I think we were clear during the hospital work stream that part of that hub and spoke is going to involve ambulatory studies. Certainly the case studies that were presented talked about a middle ear device, for instance, to detect ear infections better than they are right now. Certainly that would be done in an ambulatory setting. Certainly some hospitals do have outpatient clinics. That would be one area. The other area would be we had strong interest in increasing the diversity of racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, geographic opportunities for participants, and recognize that maybe some of the spokes of the hub and spoke model that we're advocating will be neighborhood health centers. It could be hospitals with large outpatient programs in areas of need. So we want to make sure that rural areas are well represented. Most children's hospitals are located only in urban settings. So how do we get to hospitals that may be in more rural settings? So I think there's lots of opportunities. For instance, we think there might be opportunities as children need wearable sensors, and we want to test some of those, or other devices that will be used at home in some high-risk children. So we've talked about AAP does have a patient ambulatory research network that's made up of private practitioners throughout the country. And Mort Wasserman used to run that network. So there are opportunities, and we don't see this just as hospital-based alone.
Thank you so much, John. Yes, sorry, I think.
Well, no, I would just add to John's comments that one of the advantages of the SHIP framework is that it has assets and resources that can help I'll call it the small inventor. The inventors who have great ideas without all the infrastructure. The SHIP framework will allow them to connect with folks that can actually help them get their idea to hopefully to market to the advantage of kids.
Thanks so much, Geoffrey. Okay, so we are basically rapidly approaching the end of this session, and at the very end, I'm going to ask Joseph Sheeran, President and CEO of Critical Path Institute, to give us closing remarks, and then we'll conclude this meeting after that.
Well, I have to say this was a big journey where we all learned a lot from all the different work streams. I was very impressed by the number of questions which we got and the quality of the questions and the debate which was taking place in each of the different work streams. I'm looking forward to the continuation of this project. I think it's a very important project. That was while we embarked on it together with all the different stakeholders. If I may use the SHIP MD allergy, we are well on our way. We are sailing the boat forward, and I'm looking forward to continue working on this and making this a reality in the months and years to come, because things take time, and we have learned in CPAD that certain elements cannot be forced. It simply takes some time in order to get done. But great meeting, and thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Joseph. And finally, I would like to thank each and every one of you, all the panelists, all the presenters, especially every single person in the audience who stayed with us over a period of 3 days, asked great, amazing, engaging questions. This has been an amazing experience for every one of us. Thank you so very much. Again, could we, I would request you again to please answer the survey that we have put it in the chat. And we are also will be reaching out to everyone by email because we do have your email addresses, and we'll be sending out the link for the survey to you by email. And if you are unable to answer the survey now, please do so as soon as you are able to. And yes, thank you so much again. And that's all I'll say. Thanks for attending this workshop. Please visit us at www.ship-md.org if you have any further questions. And please feel free to reach us again. Thank you.